well, certainly Oslo would be one. Con would be one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the soccer team, the USS New Jersey soccer team. We played some. I remember we practiced in Antibes, which is near Con, and I think we played the Intrepid. The Intrepid was with us most of the time, a carrier, CVA 11. And I was active in that. We had a baseball team. I was active on that.
What position?
They call me Slats because I played shortstop. Slats Marion. That's what my gunnery department officer, Lieutenant Commander McGinnis, always called me Slats, and the name stuck.
All right. Any stories from those that you'd like to share?
Not really. I just thought we saw a great many historical places. I'm not much for ruins usually, but the Acropolis in Athens was spectacular. Just the Acropolis and all the ancient buildings around it.
Mm-hmm.
And in Greece, I went from Athens to Corinth, along the Straits of Salamis. That was had olive trees on the side of the road. The sea, the Mediterranean Sea was on the left side. I don't know. I mean, there were about a dozen of us, junior officers, who we'd go ashore together, and we had a good time. We'd travel about. We'd rent a car. We'd do many interesting things.
Okay.
But we didn't do anything bad.
Okay.
No, we didn't. I mean, we really didn't. We had plenty of opportunity, I'll tell you that. I had shore patrols several places. I liked that. I had it in Cannes, I had it in Barcelona. Not sure where else I had it, but that was interesting work. You got paid money for that. That was good because I got more money. They gave me a full day's allowance.
Without giving names, were there any memorable stories from that time when you were shore patrol?
No, not really. I mean, these bee girls were hanging all over these sailors. I'll tell you this, when we went to Venice, I took a tour to Venice one time, I guess from Trieste. And we went to a whorehouse, 4 or 5 of us. But we didn't do anything. One guy did. One guy was single, and he did see one of the girls, and the girls were all over the bit. The rest of us who were married, we didn't do anything.
That's commendable.
It is. It's commendable.
All right. Any travels?
I'm not just saying that
Sorry.
she's here. I mean, we really did. I was very faithful in those days, not necessarily later, but I was then.
Any travels through the Panama Canal? And what was that like?
I've been there. Yeah, I don't think we went, not on the New Jersey.
Okay.
But I was there a couple times at the Gatun locks on the Atlantic side. And I saw the mules driving the ships through. It was a very interesting operation.
Right, but not with the New Jersey,
No.
you said. Okay.
This was a destroyer reserve cruise before I was commissioned, and it was a destroyer escort after the New Jersey, after the active duty.
Do you remember the names of those ships by chance?
Yeah, one of them was the Compton, DD. Can't remember the number. One of them was the Compton. That was the destroyer, I think, and I can't remember right now the destroyer escort. But it was sorry. The quarters compared to the New Jersey. Very bad.
All right. So, did you ever cross the equator? And if you did you go through the shellback ceremony? No? All right. Did you ever witness one?
No.
All right. All right, so let's talk about your time on the New Jersey as an officer. First of all, just some background. We always like to ask our officers about the XO and the wardroom etiquette, or XOs in case you had multiple. And what were the differences of the wardroom etiquette? Was one XO more stringent than others? How was your
You want the
experience?
XO or the CO?
We're going to talk about the COs momentarily, but your XOs, because they were the head of the wardroom.
Yeah. I don't have any real recollection of how different they were.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing I could say.
All right. So who was your commanding officer or commanding officers on the New Jersey?
Atkinson was the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and O'Donnell was the second.
And what was Captain Atkinson like?
I hope he's dead. He had a he had a mistress in Guantanamo Bay, a nurse. Everybody knew about it, and so he would extend our time in Guantanamo occasionally for another night, so he could be with the nurse another night. It was fine. O'Donnell was a very straight-laced fellow from Massachusetts. He was quite different.
Mm-hmm.
Atkinson, I'm not sure. I think he was from Alabama or somewhere. But O'Donnell was very straight-laced, and he was really not. I liked both of them. Probably I liked O'Donnell a little better. But you don't have much contact with him. Now, you know another thing I did on the ship, I don't know where you want. I was a defense counsel for special courts martial.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting work.
Anything you can share?
Well, I was able to get some of them off and some I couldn't get off. We had a couple Marines that broke into the storeroom and stole some equipment, and they got a bad conduct discharge. There wasn't anything to do about that. You can see how there. For others, I managed to get off. I was pretty good as a special court-martial defense counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of cases, quite a few cases.
So you had to do a little bit of UCMJ?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Right, a little bit of work there.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you on board for when Atkinson was relieved by O'Donnell? Did you attend the ceremony?
I don't remember anything about it, but I'm sure, I might have been sure. I don't know. I don't know where it occurred.
Okay.
It didn't leave a great impression with me.
Mm-hmm. Now, during your time on board, there was a cruise, and I hope you were on board for this. There was a cruise where all 4 Iowa-class battleships steamed together. Were you on board for that?
I don't remember that. We steamed with the Iowa a lot.
Right.
And I remember it must have been the summer of '55 when Eisenhower was in Europe for a conference, and we had a picket line of 2 cruisers and 2 battleships spread across the Atlantic. We were the closest to Europe, as I remember. To guard while he flew back to the United States. I remember that. 2 of them are cruisers. We had the Iowa, the New Jersey, it wasn't the Albany. I can't remember the other 2 right now. Right now, I wouldn't know it tomorrow, but I'm getting old.
So you said you steamed with the Iowa a lot.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about any rivalry that might have been going on between them? Did you compete with them in any kind of events or activities, either professionally or recreationally?
I can't remember much about the competing with the Iowa. I remember competing with the Intrepid, both in soccer and basketball. I had to referee a basketball game between our people and the Intrepid one time, and that was not easy. I had to throw a couple guys out of the game. I mean, those guys were rough.
Well, what about professionally with the Iowa as far as excellence awards?
I think we beat them. I think we scored higher than they did on the various exercises.
Mm-hmm.
We were the best. No doubt.
No doubt. Now, while you were on board, did you get the chance to meet any admirals or any of the VIPs?
Well, they were there. I didn't meet them. Yeah, we had a bunch of admirals on there.
What about any other VIPs that were on board during your time? Did you at least get to acknowledge them as an officer?
Well, junior officer wouldn't come in contact with these people. We had Yeah, Trujillo, when we went to the Dominican Republic, the dictator down there, he was on board, but I didn't meet him.
Okay.
I mean, we had big shots, no doubt about that, everywhere we went. We went to Mayport, Florida one time. I remember that. That was in the spring of '55, I guess. Mayport, Florida, for Easter. It was a big deal for the Navy. And they had nationwide television coverage. We had thousands of visitors. We had the Blue Angels performing. It was a big, it was designed to encourage people to enlist in the Navy. But they had an all-day television or radio program on one of the major networks.
Mm-hmm.
So we were involved with that, but I went ashore probably get away from it.
Okay. Now, after your time on the New Jersey, where did your naval career go from there?
Well,
I mean, I know you mentioned you did go to reserve.
I had a reserve cruise when I was at Cornell. I was on the destroyer Escort. We went to Venezuela and Colombia and Panama. And then when I went to graduate school at North Carolina for my PhD, I took courses, correspondence courses, lots of them. And then each summer I would go somewhere. I remember one summer the first summer I guess, I went to Charleston, South Carolina for, I think this was a school on how to decommission ships. It could have been done in about a week, and I think we were down there a month or so. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then another time I was in Norfolk for another school. But it was that kind of thing, and then I got promoted to lieutenant, I guess about 58, I think, full lieutenant, because of the correspondence and the summer activities.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then finally, I just resigned my commission in '62 because there was only one unit in Jackson, Mississippi, and when you're a lieutenant, that's too high for most of these reserve units, so there wasn't any billet for me. So I just got out.
Yeah, I was just about to ask when you got out of the Navy.
Yeah, 62 of them.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's talk about a little bit about your post-naval life. I know in side conversation we were talking about how far you went in the field of history. Would you like to tell us about that?
Okay. I got my master's degree at Cornell the year I left for New Jersey. And then I went back to Chapel Hill and got a PhD degree there in 1962. I finished it in '61, but it was awarded in '62. It was in the field of Southern history. That's my specialty, Southern antebellum South and Civil War. I taught at Millsaps College in Jackson, Mississippi for 2 years. Northeast Louisiana in Monroe for 1 year, and University of Southern Mississippi from 1964 until I retired in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
45 years. I was chairman of the history department at Southern in the 80s when Reagan was president, and I've written or edited 6 books. Most of which were very well received.
Great. I was going to ask.
Now I'm professor emeritus at Southern Miss.
Great. I was going to ask, what was your dissertation about?
Dissertation was on the Southern Plantation Overseer, the white person directly over the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first book. My major book is the planter. Is on the elite planters. Masters of the Big House is the title. Elite planters of the mid-19th century South. And it was published in 2003 and reprinted in '06. All my publications by the Louisiana State University Press, which is a good press for Southern history.
Yeah, I'm definitely off camera. We can talk a little bit about that because I also one of my history professors at ESU, East Stroudsburg University, that was his area of expertise.
Oh, is that right?
Civil War, but we can talk about that off camera. All right. Now, how about family life?
Well, I was married for 60 years to my lovely wife. She was a little older than I am, and so she died 4 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
She had a succession of strokes, and the last one was really debilitating. She couldn't speak or swallow or anything. So, but we had basically a happy life for 60 years. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And
I have two children. I have one here. She's the eldest. And then I have a son in Plano, Texas, who works for Raytheon Corporation. He's a computer expert.
Mm-hmm. Grandkids?
We have 4 of them. 2 here and 2 there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, here 2. One of them works for Amtrak and also operates a restaurant. And the girl is fixing to go to Colorado with her fiance. She's entering the PhD program out there. And the ones in Texas are rich. One of them got a degree in engineering at Texas Tech, and his starting salary is $100,000 a year. That's ridiculous. And the other one is doing well also. They're both 2 boys, and they're doing. I've got great grandchildren, 2 of them.
Ooh.
I'm getting old.
All right.
That's it on the family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this the first time you've been back on the Battleship New Jersey
Yes,
since?
it is. Yeah.
And what was your reaction when you first saw her again?
Well, she's a handsome vessel. There's no doubt about that. I already knew that. I have pictures of her on the wall, at the home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to see that she's in the condition that she appears to be in. I was worried about that.
Mm-hmm. I
was in Charleston last week, and they have the USS Yorktown, a carrier there, and they also have the destroyer Laffey. And they look like they're in pretty good shape, but the submarine needs to be scrapped. I mean, it's in awful shape. And so I was worried about what I might see here. I also saw that the teak is rotting and the under part of it is causing trouble too.
Yeah. We do have a fundraiser to try to raise money to replace it.
Yeah, I know that.
And it's been moderately successful
Well, I'll
to this
give you
point.
some money someday, pretty soon.
Okay. And just a little bit of a reflection. So, what impact on your life did naval service have?
I think it was positive. It matured me, I think. My wife was older than I was. She was always saying, really, I want you to get mature. Well, being a naval officer helped in that regard, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I was very green the first few months, but by the time I had additional responsibilities and had the command of the division and all that, I think it did me a lot of good. And of course, the travel, I never would have been to these places without the Navy. Never would have seen it. But I'd say the experience was very positive.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add? This is kind of a little bit of an open forum.
I don't think so. I think we've covered almost everything. You've done a good job.
Well, I appreciate that.
Good interviewer.
Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, again, thank you for your service and taking time to join us. This concludes our interview. This is Angela Pizzullo, manager of the Oral History Program on board the Battleship New Jersey in Camden, New Jersey. Today is Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018. Our interview guest was Dr. William Scarborough from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. This recording and any transcripts, abstracts, or indexes made from the recordings will be stored in the Oral History Department of the Battleship New Jersey, the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project, and the New Jersey State Library System. All recordings will be made available to writers, researchers, teachers, and historians. This is Angela Pizzullo signing off.